Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
and I am Tom.
We are Team Bench. We are here to talk about Silo. This is season 3, episode 7. This one was called Radio. I watched the recap, Tom, and the things that are important are that the Flame Keepers still
They're back.
exist. They're still a thing. We've been holding a candle for them this whole time. We never forgot them. My spouse certainly didn't say, the beekeepers? Who are the beekeepers? That's not a conversation that we had. But we are bringing back the Flame Keepers. We're dealing with capping a pipe or poisoning a bunch of people. It's one and the same, as well as Kennedy and Kyle are about to go out. And then whether or not Knox's daddy is alive. Tom, I'm simply rattling through the recap, which reminded us that Gloria Hildenbrand is still alive and kicking. And that in the real time or the past time or the future time, whatever it is, that Daniel and Helen are focused on saving the world. So a lot happened in this episode. There was a lot. I do want to acknowledge one of the characters at one point was like, I've never walked that many stairs before. And I was like, finally, show, thanks for acknowledging that there's a lot of stairs being walked in these episodes without acknowledgement. But I enjoyed this one, Tom. I'll start with you. Out of all the people I could choose right now to ask, how did you enjoy this episode?
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to ask. I thought it was really good. I thought they had some cool action suspense. It was fun to see Lucas and Kennedy kind of go out to, not clean, but I guess to see the outside world and see it at nighttime. I thought was very fascinating and a super cool choice. I thought the before time stuff was fun. And now that we kind of got the concept of them, like quote unquote, saving the world, little tag at the end of actually seeing one of Daniel Keene's, which I guess drills
Spider
that he
drills.
worked on.
The spider drills. Looks like something the Marvels would fight. You know what I mean?
I think it came from Wild Wild West. Will Smith. I think that was one of those things.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that better. Yeah. Selma Hayek's in that movie, Tom. I don't know if you know that.
But yeah, I thought it was really good, and it's definitely setting up a exciting conclusion for these last 3 that we'll have.
Yeah,
How about
I
you?
enjoyed it as well. I guess, and I know you don't want to say it, so I'll say it. I think we were all hoping that Anthony Sims was going to die. I think as they were setting up that bombing, and they were like, this kid's in this room, and he's not that far from where they're going to bomb. I think we were all like hoping that he would die, but they decided not to kill a bunch of people in this episode. But it was suspenseful. I think they did a really good job because I was not quite sure whether or not we were going to murder a bunch of people on accident or on purpose.
It was a bold plan.
It was a bold plan. It kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, we were discussing it. We didn't give it a whole lot of conversation, and everyone's like, listen, Juliet has to make the call. You're like, all right. She just got her memory back. Let's put her in let's put her in the pressure cooker, see what she remembers,
Exactly, yeah.
All right, let's dive into it. And we get a quick intro with Sims and Anthony, and like Sims is sneaking around. And it makes a lot more sense now that we know like that Sims is working for essentially what he feels is the good of the silo, and that is teaming up with Juliet and her ragamuffin band of misfits. So we get to watch him sneak around, and then we were also left in the last episode with Lucas and Kennedy being chosen at dawn to go and take a walk at dawn when people get executed. And so they are being informed of this for the first time, and Lucas seems pretty cool with it. Kennedy, he's got some questions. He's finding out he's about to die. I would say Kennedy reacts in the better way than Lucas. Lucas doesn't seem to care what happens. He's just going outside no matter what.
Yeah, I think Lucas sees the importance of it, and Kennedy is, for all of his Buster and stuff earlier, doesn't seem to be very thrilled about going out, and is like kind of questioning the concept of like, is it really nice outside? But eventually says like, hey, listen, I don't want to live in a hole anymore. I'll suit up. Let's do this.
Right. He's like, if I can get him to 17, after that, all bets are off. I just want to go fly a kite. And they're like, what's a kite? And he's like, I don't know, but it sounded cool, right? And their whole job is to go and find out where the pipe is in Silo 17. And, like third or fourth on the list is maybe see if those kids are alive, just maybe.
Correct.
And all of this hinges on, not hinges, but part of this plan is for Danny Bly to shut down the screens in the cafeteria. Why are we shutting down the screens? Is it because they're sending them out early? They don't want to watch people get machine gunned? Why did they shut down the screens, Tom?
I think that's the take, because when Camille kind of questions it later, like, hey, you were supposed to send them out at dawn, you sent them out early. So if all the screens were on all the floors, you imagine they would have heard about it. But I also would have argued you probably would have heard about it if the screen went off. Like, hey, head of IT, all the screens went off. Do you want to maybe look into that?
Maybe
it might be a
check
little
that
bit,
out.
yeah.
Also, is dawn always the same time? Does it adjust? I mean, how do they know what time
of
it
year
is?
is it?
You know, are there clocks in the silo? There's no sun. You know, how would they know? I don't know. I do like the idea of going out of the silo for the first time and being like, hey, all the lights are off out here. Can you turn the lights on? Because we can't see anything. Because Kennedy's like, there's nothing. And Lucas is like, there's so many beautiful stars. Look at all the beautiful stars.
I love when they look up at the sky and then like they see like the Milky Way galaxy, and all Kennedy's response is like, what the heck is that thing?
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah. He's not like Lucas,
Understandable.
who likes to stare at the stars.
Yeah.
And we do find out that the whole reason they are sent out early is because Sims is like letting Juliet know, hey, she's already drugged the water. Camille has drugged the water. We got to move quickly. Also, by the way, don't drink anything from the tap. And I really appreciated this. He was kind of like a flight attendant. He was like, you can't drink the water, but we have milk, juice, wine, Diet Mountain Dew, bourbon, whatever you'd like. Just don't drink the water. And it's like, all right, cool. Thank you. I'll have the peanuts. Or I guess they don't do peanuts anymore. It's pretzels and those weird cinnamon cookies that aren't half bad, you know? Sorry, I'm just thinking about airplanes.
He sounded disgusted by it, but I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good, man. I enjoyed them.
Yeah. Well, my issue is they only give you 2. Like, I think if I could have 8 of them, I'd really love them, if I'm being honest. But
that's fair.
They only give you 2 in a package.
This section was definitely my thought of like, oh, is Sims going to die here? Because they do the point where Juliet tells him like, hey, be careful. So I'm like, oh, okay, so he's going to die.
He didn't die in this episode, obviously. Do you think he's long for this world?
I don't remember what happens to him in the books, so I won't conjecture, but I just felt like the way the show is pushing this, I felt like he was going to go out this episode. So the fact that they didn't, like they were kind of like hinting at it, foreshadowing, and they didn't kill him, maybe he is going to be okay.
Well, I don't know if you remember Deputy Marnes' death, Tom, but we may open up episode 8 and Sim's body is just on the ground, or some actor that is pretending to be Sim's body is in a leather jacket and a black bald cap lying on the ground, and they're like, oh, look, Camille shot him, because that's what they did to Marnes.
I think they're going to swap places. Like the nurse is going to have Sims' outfit on, and she's going to pretend to be Sims.
Sure. That doesn't make any sense, but sure, I'll go with it. I do like Sims is like, listen, once again, milk, juice, wine. Also, you and I can't talk anymore because I'm being followed a bunch, and Camille's onto me.
Yes, exactly.
And so, with the Kennedy and Lucas adventure, they are getting all suited up. And prior to them getting suited up, Tom, there's this weird conversation where, once again, there are so many characters that are on Juliet's team now. I gotta be honest, I know maybe 65% of their names. They just kind of float in and out of this rebellion. I think Billing's wife is part of this group, right? And
correct.
I think her name is Kat, maybe. And also her and Kennedy seem to have some sort of relationship going on. I don't know. There's a lot of like longing stares and I can't believe you're going to go out and die sort of thing. But maybe that's just me.
And they do this whole bit of, like, I guess, trying to give Kennedy more of a backstory. I mean, because we know of his, like, haunted past backstory of, like, his wife was it killed by judicial? I don't know what the circumstances were, but they do, like, this big reminiscing thing. And she would have gone out singing and just to be able to be out there for 1 minute. Like, it was nice, but it did feel, like, a little bit out of place.
Sure. Although, I don't know if you remember that little boy singing while those 2 bodies were being craned up the silo. Sometimes these people just sing at the most inopportune times. But yeah, this was weird because I don't think they ever showed us Doris Kennedy, and his wife has just always been, she's like in a Christopher Nolan movie. She's just always the dead wife that our main character has to deal with or get back to over the course of 10 years. I don't know. I didn't see Memento. All right.
Or the Odyssey.
The Odyssey. Danny shuts down the screen. Everyone's like, cool, TV's off for a little while. Maybe we'll read a book. And Walker gives Lucas a radio, but not Kennedy. Very pointed. Or do they both get it and she just tells Kennedy not to speak? Because Kennedy's not the one. He's like Mark Watney on the radio. You want to just kind of turn him off and let someone else talk. But
I think it was only Lucas that got the radio, right? So they both got code names. He gets the radio. I think he's upset that either his code name is bad or he doesn't get the radio. But the fact that we see like later in the episode that Kennedy is the one that responds. Yes. Exactly. It tells him like, hey, they made it safe and sound inside the other silo.
Okay, but we don't know if Lucas did. We just know that Kennedy did because he's the one talking on the radio, right?
Correct,
okay.
Yep.
And they do the radio codes as like deputy names. I'm assuming just in case someone comes across their transmission, it sounds like they're just part of the sheriff's department. And as you pointed out, they go outside. All the lights are off except for the stars. They both have different reactions in terms of one is pretty amazed and then the other is like a whole lot of nothing out here until they start stumbling across bodies, Tom. And you sometimes forget the production value of this show, and I bring this up simply because YouTube fed me the making of for Juliet swimming in Silo 17. It fed this to me today. I don't know if I was like, hey, I said out loud to someone in a conversation, I wonder if Juliet from the silo can swim. And then YouTube was like, hey, here's a video if you want to watch it.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you, Julian.
And so I watched it, and they literally made like a giant water tank. And so in this moment where they've like all these dead bodies, and maybe this was CGI, I don't know, my TV's pretty dark and the show is pretty dark, but it all just looks really cool. And I just want to shout out to Silo Production. They're putting billions of dollars into this show. I don't know who's watching it, but they are putting some money into it, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and I love the backdrop of this scene, because anytime we've like gone outside, which obviously is not often, but when Juliet did, like it's the middle of the day and it's like just all dusty and deserty looking. So to see this polar opposite of middle of the night, the stars, we know there's no light pollution anywhere, so you see everything. It was beautiful, especially knowing of like Lucas's love of the stars and trying to kind of figure out and understand what they are. I thought it was great. There's also like a little, as they're kind of going over that first hill of Silo 18, you can see like Holston and Allison's body like on the hill next to that tree, which I thought was a kind of nice touch to kind of have that in there, because the poetry of their heartbreaking story. And then yes, all like the bodies in the different positions as they get to 17. It was heart-wrenching and so brilliantly done.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Now, Tom, if you're in that situation, are you using the bodies as like leap pads in order to get to Silo 17, kind of like the floor is lava, or are you trying to just walk on the ground and miss the bodies? What's your when you're walking over a bunch of dead bodies, what's your typical go-to move?
I mean, I would try to respect the dead bodies and, walk around them. But I don't know. I mean, there's a horde of bees coming at them here in a second. So maybe I would be hopping on them.
I'd use the bodies like a trampoline, Tom. I'd see if I could get some distance and height,
Incredible.
And while this is happening, we get a quick cut that the algorithm's like, hey, Camille, can you come to my office? The fob is blinking. And then we get a pretty violent buzzing sound, which I was confused by.
I mean, again, I assumed this was bees, and then, not Holston, but these two guys pull out their guns and they start shooting at the bees. But their weapons are useless against them, as we know in Tommy Boy.
Yes, and one of them is like, "Oh, I'm allergic," and the cops run away. Yeah, there are gunshots on the radio. I don't think subtitles picked it up, but the character in the show was like, "That was definitely gunshots." And I like how this is done. It's all over the radio. I did get a little bit of like Hunger Game vibes. I believe there's like modified genetic wasps or bees in that. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a little bit worrisome. And then the radio dies, and Walker and these guys give up on these two so quickly. Walker's like, well, I guess I'm going to go to my shop. And she just like switches off the radio. It's like in... oh no, when Seth Rogen and Bill Hader are cops in Superbad, and the radio is like, there's so much blood, and then he just like flicks off his radio. That's kind of how this felt. Walker went to the off switch very quickly.
Yes, that is fair. That is funny. So, what is your take here? Like, what do you think the gunshots were? The buzzing? Like, are you sticking with the genetically modified something? As we do find out later that there are genetically modified unicorns living in this world.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like they gave us enough to really conjecture. I think it was kind of cheap of them to turn off the radio, but then let Kennedy make the call at the end. I just assumed both these guys died. But I
thought no way. Like, these were too big of a characters. To have this happen off screen doesn't make sense. Like, I figured they had to come back. At least one of them we see in Kennedy.
Tom, I once again will point to Deputy Marnes, who was killed off screen and was one of our sweet Will Patton murdered off screen. So I don't know. All I know is that the algorithm pulls Camille into the office, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, took care of those guys. They've been neutralized. Don't worry about them. All cool here." And then I did not understand this conversation. He says something like, "Hey, you saw the images from Silo 17. You also saw those dead people. What do you think happened?" And she says something like, "Oh, did they discover the safeguard?" And he said, "Yes. Like, the safeguard is not preventable. Like, they think they can cap it. They think they can shut it down. But ultimately, like, everyone's still going to die, even if they take that option away." I did not understand this conversation.
I think the general gist of it is just the algorithm saying, like, they don't have agency or free will in this situation. Like, whether it's the pipe or them going outside, like, they will die one way or the other unless they follow the algorithm's protocol.
There's 1,000 different safeguards that hang over us in all shapes and forms. Is that, I mean, that's ultimately, okay, all right. That sounds depressing, but I guess it's just true for all of us. Even if you don't live in a silo, you're still eventually going to die. I don't know how many times I have to point that out. Ultimately, I like when the algorithm sends Camille on a chore where he's just like, "Hey, go find out what Juliet was doing. You know, I would ask her, but I'm pretty busy being stuck in this weird television screen measuring the levels of, I don't know, SoundCloud or Windows Media Player. Like, you go ask her." And then Camille, knock, knock, knock. "Hey, Juliet. Hey, I was just walking by. You got any of that leftover pizza?" And Juliet's like slowly reaching for the gun in her waistband. And she's like, "Hey, why'd you send him out so early? Also, are you heating up that pizza?" And these two just lie to each other while they both grab for guns in their waistbands. And then Juliet's like, gets weirdly passive aggressive. She's like, "I wish their suits would have been bulletproof." But boom. Camille doesn't know that they died by gunfire. The algorithm is just like, "Hey, we neutralized him." She didn't listen to the radio. I don't know. This seemed like a weird flex from Juliet. She's like, "I bet they're sad about all those bullet holes in their body." And Camille's like, I could not be more confused. Also, is the pizza ready? Like, what are we doing here?
It was interesting because, yes, like, I think from Juliet's standpoint, she assumes Camille is part of, like, all of this and knew about the gunfire, bullets, or whatever. But then we find out that Camille didn't, so she's in the loop to a point, but not all the way through. But I did find it very funny when Camille shows her gun and then the camera pans and then the very next second to Juliet reaching for hers or already having hers at the ready. Like, just a double gun standoff was just great. I love it.
I mean, those typically, it's established this is dawn. Those typically happen at high noon, so it's a little bit confusing that we're having a showdown. But Tom, you know what this makes me realize? This makes me realize that Juliet maybe should be curious and not judgmental, a little bit curious and not judgmental. Maybe ask Camille how she's feeling, what her motivation is. Those types of things.
Maybe Camille should be a goldfish.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ted Lasso, the other podcast that we're running right now. Oh, By the way, speaking of machines, algorithms, and guns, those of you that listen to us on Spotify, could you do me a favor? It's very difficult to rate and review on the Spotify app, but I figured out how. If you hit the Team Binge podcast, and you can do it literally while I'm talking right now, and you go right next to the gear is 3 dots, and you hit those 3 dots, down at the bottom it says rate this podcast. Hit that and hit 5 stars for me. It would mean the world to us. And I've had my Gam reach out a couple of times just asking how. She says, she comes to me with tears in her eyes in the streets, and she says, Julian, how do I rate and review the podcast? And so I had to walk her through that. So gear, 3 dots, rate and review, 5 stars. Thank you for those that are on Spotify. Let's move on to mining, Tom. Let's go down to the mines. Deep in the mines. Them. And by deep in the mines, they're probably at what, level like 20? I don't know. They're not down deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Level 20 makes sense. But we have Ed Harwood, Billings, and Hanks. So we got the Billings and Hanks investigation continues. And
the Trinity, as we like to call them. Harwood, Billings, and Hanks, the holy Trinity.
Uh-huh. But yeah, this investigation not going very well. And again, I like Paul and giving him something to kind of do this season, but I feel like every moment we're getting with him of trying to stumble through this investigation, he's just hitting roadblock after roadblock, and it's just not as compelling of television as his character has been in previous seasons.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, everyone now is just blatantly telling him they don't respect him, so when he asks them questions, Harwood's like, yeah, no, I think you're terrible. I don't care for you at all. Which is, the camera then should have panned and watched Billings pull his gun slowly out of his waistband from behind. I mean, how many times do we get that shot in this episode? Honestly, he should just shoot this old man in the knee and tell him to answer his questions. You'd get a lot of... If you were the guy that shot Ed Harwood in the knee, I'm pretty sure people start respecting you at that point. But they have the discussion about how Orla was killed and then moved here, and the actor that plays Harwood, I just want to say, is comically unpleasant, like an over-the-top Bond villain. He seems like he's having a great time, and he doesn't take me out of it, but it is like, this guy's making choices, which, got it. He's supposed to be kind of evil, but really he's just sad that he's been saddled with everyone comes to the mines to die. I don't know. I guess maybe it's a hard job. Who knows? I've never worn a hard hat. I went into modeling, and my father never respected me for it, you know?
Incredible. But yeah, I feel like once this actor gets those prosthetic mining teeth in that are just brutal and kind of gross, he finds a new level of disheveledness for him, but which he's great. I like him in this scene, and I do appreciate him talking about this magic trick that it gets played. So apparently they just don't have time for his illusions, which I thought was great. But people getting sent to the mines just for having ideas or theoretical relics was an interesting concept.
Yeah, thought crimes. Thanks, 1984 or
Minority
A
Report.
Brave New World or Minority Report. I got it. Thought crimes. Listen, it's coming for us. It's coming for all of us. There's those cameras that measure bird flocks that everyone keeps complaining about. That's something. Next they'll be reading our thoughts. All right. I appreciate Harwood being like, listen, you're barking up the wrong tree. I know that Orla took Glenda's job. I wanted her to get out of the mines. That would have been a way up for her into supply. But hey, not me. I didn't do it. I don't respect you. I do want to say that at some point he talks about Will Patton Marnes, and he's like, yeah, that guy was pretty cool. Or maybe he's Holston. One of them, he's like, hey, it was Holston. But believe me, Harwood and Marnes would have been best buds. They would have been. He would have respected him.
I just don't. Again, from Paul's perspective, he has these files that Holston wrote and was investigating Harwood or something. This was supposed to be some sort of trump card that's going to have Harwood now tell his whole story. It just seemed like an odd thing to do. It was nice to get Holston's name mentioned as part of this greater series of events that's been happening, but it just seemed to kind of fall flat.
Billings is objectively a bad cop. He's just not good at it. He should have switched roles and let Hanks, although Hanks is not the Hanks we get later in the episode. Hank's not the right guy either. He needs just someone mean. He needs Shirley, honestly. Him and Shirley going around. Shirley would be beating people with a pulp with a wrench, and Billings would get some answers,
Yeah, maybe some rebarb.
Exactly. Speaking of Shirley, we have so many people gathered together now. After these two have died, we've got...
Even this new guy that I feel like I've seen in a couple scenes, but now apparently he knows everything about the safeguard and everything else. So
this
everybody
guy
knows.
was so quick to be like, we're going to take bombs, we're going to blow up the gas pipe, sure, maybe some people will die. I was like, sir, can you say your name one more time? I'm not sure who you are or when we've met you, but how are you so involved in this? But I believe his name's Donnie. And so we've got Juliet, Knox, Walker, Shirley, Donnie, Bernard, John, Jim, Paul, Luke, Revelations, Exodus, Leviticus. Anyways, so many people are a part of this. And they're like, listen, we'll go get helmets and suits and bombs. We'll blow the pipe up. I'm like, really? This is... Mechanical has this rare ability to walk into rooms that they're not allowed in. Maybe take some time and go walk. I know they're all worried about the water, and that it'll affect them immediately. But now that you know not to drink the water, surely you can go without it. I haven't drunk water in my 40s or 30s. It all comes through Diet Mountain Dew. You don't need water. Tom, as a kid, did you carry around a giant stainless water bottle? No, you did not. We barely even went to the water fountain, which was super hot. We drank out of hoses every once in a while. You don't need water, all right?
Listen, you have your Diet Mountain Dews. I've got my protein shakes. We're good.
You have the worst breakfast in the world. Tom, we found out on the Lasso pod that sorry, the bourbon hit me because I thought you were going to talk longer, and now it's in my lungs. All right, we found out on the Lasso pod that Tom's breakfast is a protein drink and a granola bar, and he does 100 squats and bench presses every morning. So he really broed out for us over there. And now he's bringing it up on this pod, too. This is ridiculous, Tom. We got it. You're in shape. You got muscles. All right, back off. Okay.
But this whole plan is just cuckoo bananas. Okay, we can't figure out how to cap the pipe, so we're going to blow the pipe shut. That's not how pipes work. I feel like if it gets ruptured, it just goes everywhere. How does this plan make sense?
My understanding was they were going to blow up the wall to get to the pipe. It perhaps would rupture, but since they were in suits, they would be quick enough to cap it or weld it off or whatever. Which, sure, if you have a cap, you know the size of the pipe. But they don't know any of that stuff. So this is a very, very iffy plan. I would have said go, right away. I mean, 2,000 out of 10,000, that's what? 3% of the population? That doesn't seem like that much. So I'd say go for it, you know?
I do like how we have, who's a former head of supply, this lady? Is it Carla McLean? Or she just says, or maybe we just drink the water, which is, it's an option.
Right.
It's an option.
And later she tries to take a swig and Bernard's like, no, remember. All right. After this conversation, Knox turns to Shirley and he goes, I've got to take care of something. And then he leaves. And I was like, okay, man, cool. And then he goes and talks to Mark. And I was like, oh, this guy, great. I bet Mark's going to be pretty rude. And sure enough, Mark's pretty rude. And what do we find out, Tom? What do we find out about Knox's dad? Something none of us saw coming.
Yeah, shocker. Dad's still alive. Again, the storyline's going somewhere. With the missing light bulbs with his dad. But... I haven't found this very compelling, and I'm not sure where they're going, because I think introducing Knox's father being a major player now in the greater scheme of things, it just seems kind of weird and tacked on for a show that we know is going to have only 4 seasons.
Tom, I know I said if we were going to pick an actor that would be Knox's dad, someone that shows up towards the end of the season and is a big name. I've changed. It's not Jeff Goldblum. It's Idris Elba. Idris Elba being Knox's dad would just be mind blown. And he's British. A lot of these people are British, so it all makes sense. Honestly, I would love it if this storyline all just came down to Harwood already took care of capping the pipe. They've just been running around doing this stuff, and Harwood's like, yeah, we knew about the pipe. We've been in the mines for 300 years. We found the pipe.
First thing we found, yeah.
We capped it. On the pipe, it says murder weapon for everyone in Silo. We capped it. We're cool. Anyways.
Because he gives this thing about, Mark's don't dig into Harwood's business. You'll be in trouble. Really? Now Harwood's going to be some, big bad that we can't investigate him? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we knew Harwood's not a good dude. He's not trying
Yeah.
to be a good dude. He's like, he doesn't brush his teeth. What are we doing here? He's bad. You can see it in the cavities, Anyways, the story we're told here is that Knox designed something for Harwood, and then the deal was that after it was completed, he could fake his death so he could go live in this silo of a limited amount of people with a ton of cameras, and just everyone would assume he's dead. Also, is Knox's dad, is he like a mechanical genius? What's he building that other people couldn't build? From what we know, he's just like a smuggler and a thief, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he dug himself into a new silo. Maybe he's gone.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's Otis, the guy that invented Otis elevators. Who knows?
Ooh,
All
nice.
right.
Good call. Good pull.
Yeah. It was a good call. Let's write that one down. Juliet Bernard, Gloria Hildenbrand. Gloria, I just want to say, she's back from like season 1. She was she helps with pregnancies. People get pregnant. And
Like she helped Allison, right? Like Allison Becker, like the original.
she offered to, but everyone kind of felt she was a little bit of a kook. And so,
Okay. Yeah.
but I got to be honest, Tom, she's aging backwards. Gloria Hildenbrand, I don't know what this memory drug did to her, but she is glowing. Like, talking about Gloria as glowing. She looks incredible. Like, so I want whatever regimen she's using on her, face, I guess.
I did have they added so she was apparently the one that was helping swap the pills. I think was it Sims that was talking about this earlier, and we were kind of conjectured who this might have been. I would not have thought Gloria, but I was kind of confused by this whole conversation, bringing up the Flamekeeper concept again. But is essentially Gloria a Flamekeeper, and she's one of the last ones, and they talk about these relics and memories. I don't know. I struggled following all this logic here.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense because you're obviously not very bright. But for those of us that are bright and remember things, she was one of the Flame Keepers. She has the Georgia book at one point, I believe. So she's a relic keeper, a beekeeper, as one would say. And so she loves to keep them in her old bonnet. Tom, I just want to say on record, you're very smart, 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 you're very smart. There, 7. I undid it. Lasso level 3.
Wow,
okay.
That's a lot. But
I thought all of this was just to bring up that the memory drug is bad. I felt like this whole conversation, this was a long, convoluted way of looking back in history and being hey, the last time everyone got drugged, people died. It's not as innocent or as non-lethal as they make it out to be. That's kind of how I took this all.
Exactly. We had kind of conjectured if they discovered or made this forget me drug that we're seeing in the before times 300 some years ago, at this point it'd be a surgical tool and they can use it and manipulate people to their will, but that does not seem to be the case here. It is not very precise, and people do die, they stop eating. It has its tolls if you choose to essentially try to quote unquote reset the silo using this vitamin D. But I do want to call out this porter that they bring up has this old diary named Mission. That is a bookism, and this was a character from the books that I think just kind of helps. And again, forgive me if I'm not getting this right, other book readers here, but I believe some of his storyline is just kind of explaining the concept of these silos kind of going through these cycles of kind of perpetual forgetting, where they think they're doing something, they're trying to do good, and maybe they're going to try to get out or whatever it is. But ultimately, we find out at the end of this conversation, Quinn chose that path of just drugging everybody, and they're trying to kind of show the difference of a different decision that Juliet might make and the burden that is now on her.
Right. And this writing that they read is very much like that dwarf that wrote in the Mines of Moria about the drums, or Flowers for Algernon, where he just kind of trails off and dies. Spoilers for Flowers for Algernon. But yeah, so the memory loss causes some suicide, causes some oh, look, he's flying, and then also causes people to be like, you know what, I'm not hungry. No leftover pizza for me today. No, thank you.
Bummer.
No protein shakes for breakfast or granola bars. Did we talk about the figures? So the memory loss killed like 2,000 people. Did we already talk through that?
Yeah, I think that was. So yeah, not only did we find out that the memory loss stuff is not great with the suicide and people not eating, but then specifically like when Quinn chose to essentially put everybody on the water supply or the vitamin D, it was not without its cost. And 2,000 people died during that transition, if you will.
Sure. And if you were to tell me all of this was squeezed in because they wanted to like pay homage to the books, I would have been like, yep, I understand, because that was the feeling that, and you just pointed out, and it felt right. It felt good.
Yeah.
Just like those memory loss drugs would probably feel pretty good right about now. I don't remember her name, but the woman that was initially Juliet's like helper when she took over the sheriff's department is the one that then goes to Sims and is like, hey man, I could use some judicial passes. Please don't ask why. We're definitely not going to blow up something that's right above your house or where you work and spread gas to where your son lives. We would just like some judicial passes. I'm just going to say this right now. I'm enjoying the show. This jacket storyline was so dumb. Just like they took the time to like show us, oh, the jackets are how he got the passes smuggled to them. And then later on, Camille's like, I'm going to shoot you because our son took the wrong jacket to school. This made very little. I mean, it made sense, but it felt like such a plot device that I kind of got irrationally angry about it and wish I could memory loss it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was a bit cheesy, and I think the idea of it using as the jacket seemed to be like the catalyst for Camille getting that much more angry, I guess, at Robert, because they tried to like use her son as a plot device or a means to be able to move these passes. But I mean, I don't know, like even when they ultimately use the passes to get by these security protocols of IT, I mean, they just look at the passes and they take their story for for gospel and they just let them right in. Like they probably could have found another way to be able to get in without getting these fancy passes.
I would argue that Mechanical is like who started the last revolution. Maybe let's be suspicious of Mechanical showing up with a bunch of bomb-shaped boxes, you know? I don't know. Yeah. These judicial guards all suck and they deserve to be blown up. That's where I came to, you know?
All right. But I do like how you called it earlier, where she went up 100 flights of stairs and then down 100 flights of stairs. So there's kind of some jetpacking going on to be able to have this character deliver everything. But I do like how they at least showed her out of breath a little bit and called out the concept.
Right. The strongest glutes and quads of anyone that's ever had a protein shake and granola bar for breakfast, you know? Just super strong, super jacked. Okay. Sims and Camille, she then comes up and she's like, hey, you need to come help me with something. And they head down to check on the nurse that was helping. And so is the nurse Amy the one that's chained up? Is that who that is at the end of this episode? I feel like, okay.
The one that kind of helped Juliet escape. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I'm on it. I remember. I'm smart. I remember things. Remember when I made fun of you for not remembering things? That was mean. Okay. Donnie at Dispatch is making the delivery, and I just wrote in our outline, they're bombing Judicial. This is absolutely crazy. Are they really going to do this? And so I will give the show credit. I did think that one of these bombs was going to go off, and I appreciate them constantly being like, hey, Juliet, it's really important that all the guilt falls on you now that you have your memory and recently came to know who you are. We would love for you to feel bad about this. So should we proceed with this? And she's like, A-okay, drop the bombs. And while this is all happening, we're running around, we're putting sticky bombs on the wall, we're doing timers. You know, I wonder, how are they going to recycle these bombs? Is there a recycle shop for the bombs, Tom? Once they're used once, do you get to recycle the bombs again?
It's a really good question. I don't know what their bomb tech is, but I do like those timers. They were classic, old school countdown timers. They
were pretty great. Pretty great. This is all broken up because who comes over the radio but one John F. Kennedy? He says, ask not what your silo can do for you, but what you can do for your silo. And he's like, hey, I'm alive over here. I've got these kids. He's like, by the way, kids, super annoying. They keep asking me for snacks and when are we going to be there? And all of this makes them run around to stop the bombs. And I definitely thought they were going to forget about one, but they didn't. Everyone's safe.
Yes, I like how they did it too. It was like one by one. Like, okay, they stop one and they get to the next, and like everybody's just like in a chain of yelling at the next person to stop the bombs. And I do want to ask you here, like, because you talked about it earlier, like we hear from Kennedy on the radio, we don't hear from Lucas. Do you think Lucas made it as well?
I don't know. I assumed they were both dead, so I'll take one out of the two dead. That's fine. I'm good with it. Yeah. Lucas is dead. Kennedy made it. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't know why Kennedy has Lucas's radio, because I think, once again, they only gave Lucas a radio. So, I don't know. Maybe he was leaning, maybe his head was on his shoulder, and so his mouth was just closer to the mic. I don't know what kind of radios they're using, We'll never know.
Mm-hmm. Never.
Can you tell me who's dead or alive, Tom?
I could.
You're the worst. You're the worst. All right. Speaking of people that are dead or alive, Sims, Camille, they go to Amy's chamber. Camille is super mad. She's like, I made him that jacket. I stitched it with my own hands. How dare you go to Target and get him one that's a Good Threads or whatever their brand is. It used to be Massimo, but now it's something else. Why? Why did you change his jacket? And I was like, okay, cool. This is really what spun her out. Camille's under a lot of stress. That's what and I don't think Sims is being a great husband, I think they're both at fault. They should go talk to the algorithm together, get some therapy,
They should. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is interesting how, like, quickly this marriage has just completely gotten torn apart. Like, they seem to be kind of sort of working together and kind of playing both sides last season and, like, on the same general-ish page, but now they are drifting quite a bit apart.
Right. And, like, the main motivation they're giving us is that Rob Sims does not want his kid to forget him, and he loves his son very much. And Camille's like, he'll figure it out on his own. And so Sims is like, listen, you just have to stop the drugs. Just stop putting them in the water. And she's like, tell me what you're doing. And he's like, listen, you need to calm down. And she's like, that's my least favorite Taylor Swift song. And then she pulls a gun and she's like, I'm not going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot this lady that, to be honest, is such a minor character. If I shot her, it would probably make sense. We'd be like, oh, Camille's like terrible now. And Rob's got to witness that. And oh, Amy wasn't bringing a whole lot to the table anyways. So we got it. But Sims is like, no. Definitely our kid should have a non-murdering parent, which I don't know. Is that in the parenting books, Tom? Is that something we should all aspire to?
I mean, yeah, you want to have one parent that's not murdered. I mean, if you have both of them that's murderers, then that's just rough. How about your family? How many murders you got?
Well, I want to clarify. I believe you said you should definitely have one parent that's not murdered.
Not a murderer.
Okay, murderer. Yeah, murder. Yes, I think it is important. I think it is important to have one parent that has not killed someone. No, murder is different than killing someone. I think it's important to have one parent that has not murdered someone. But I do think if both parents murder people, you do reach a number that they kind of cancel each other out, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, like, you kind of drop back down to zero. And so, all told, Tom, we've said this once, and we'll say it again. We are a pro-murder podcast. Always have been, always will be.
Yeah, didn't Mr. and Miss Smith, do they ever have kids? They're big murderers.
In the movie, the best movie that's ever made, no, they do not have children. And it didn't work out for them in real life either. I hate to spoil it for you. Let's leave the silo, Tom, and let's go to the before times, because some stuff's happening. And by some stuff, we take a really long time to take a plane ride to Atlanta. And I don't know how much we really learn, but I think we can blow through this pretty quickly. We left the last one with them running into Senator Thurman or Thermos. It's one of the two. And there's a plane and a hangar. And now we find out that Charlotte's there. She's doing better remembering things. And in order for Helen and Daniel to get on this airplane to go save the world, they've got to deal with just the worst thing in the world, which is lawyers and paperwork. And they're like, no, we will murder people, we will break the law, but we will not sign legal documents.
It was so great. Yeah, for this to be like a big catalyst of this scene, I thought was great. Everybody loves a good legal document. But who do we get? Like, I was so excited because I knew he was in this season. I didn't know what character he was playing. But what's the character's name? Pierre Stinson?
Per Stinson.
Okay, Per Stinson. Very interesting first name. But yeah, our buddy Colin Hanks, which is just great. I love him so much.
I have always enjoyed Colin Hanks from the very first time I saw him in Band of Brothers. He's great, and he's good in this role. He plays a really good kind of sarcastic rich guy, which I have always wanted to play in real life, if I'm being honest. I've always wanted to be kind of a pain-in-the-butt rich guy, but hasn't happened quite yet. I've got one of the two nailed down.
You're just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, exactly. So the world's most important secret, I didn't like any of it. It's not that I didn't like it. I found it kind of dumb. They're like, oh, sign it or you go to Gitmo. And it's like, just sign the documents. You're going to go to Gitmo. They're going to like throw you out of the plane. Like something bad's going to happen to you one way or another. Just sign the paperwork. They're not going to make you pay for the lawyer is probably on retainer. You don't have to pay for him. Like, just if it's a cost thing, and I do appreciate him being like, sign him, I'll give you 100,000. Sign him, I'll give you 1 million. And I enjoyed all of this. He's spending money like he doesn't have long to live. I'll say that much.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, I feel like these dollar signs mean absolutely nothing to him. So he seems to be like, he's like, oh, I was talking to the 10th richest man in the world. Like, this guy's probably number one, I would venture. But yeah, I feel like I'm signing these documents before he's even offering me any money. I'm in. I want to know the secret.
I probably would have volunteered him. I would be like, whoa, before I get on that plane and find everything out, can I sign an NDA? I've always wanted to sign one. I would love to sign one.
All the cool kids are doing it.
I appreciate the senator popping in here and being like, hey, I didn't just end that last episode to be dramatic. This is about saving the world. And they're like, what do you mean an episode? And she's like Abed in Community. She like knows this is a TV show. And so she knows when to drop the best lines. But it was great.
I do like how we get Helen very quickly kind of asking, because like the writer in her, journalism in her, just it doesn't go away. She's like, okay, well, when can I write about this story? And I find it interesting that Senator Thurman does reply like, oh, in about 5 years.
Sure. It sounds like everyone's going to find out about it in about 5 years, so why not let her write? Why not let her be the first one? All right, on the plane, Daniel and Charlotte talk, and I got to be honest, it throws me off so much, but the actress that plays Charlotte looks so much like the woman that played Lady Sybil in the, what is that British show? No. The British show that they then made movies about that everyone loved. Oh, it's beyond me to remember, so I won't.
If it's a British show, sorry, I'm not going to help you. I was thinking like the bent neck lady or something. One of the characters from Haunted Hill House. So yeah, I feel like she kind of has her vibes as well.
Sure. Anyways, she's remembering something. She's not remembering other things. And Daniel's like, well, I'm just glad you're here. And they have this conversation about like, hey, what do you remember? She's like, I remember everything up until the mission. And the doctor tells me that that's okay. And I was like, okay, interesting.
Well, and it's weird because the doctor has the conversation with Daniel a little bit later of, I guess, the concept of like they can't block out memories, but at a certain point, like, and I think Charlotte in this scene even calls it like the vault, like they're keeping things kind of hidden from me in this portion of my brain that I can't access. But then he kind of later says that your body, your consciousness or whatever is going to eventually surface those things if you truly want them to be remembered. So I don't know what they're doing, and they're kind of playing a little bit fast and loose with the memory concept.
Yeah,
but we have found out it's not an exact science, I guess, right?
Right. It's not a scalpel. It's like a shotgun filled with scalpels. You know, it's not a precision weapon. The show I was trying to come up with was Downton Abbey. I definitely came up with that without having to Google it. So
couldn't help you there, buddy. Sorry.
It's okay. Helen talks to the old man, and Tom, does this old man have a name, or can I continue to call him old man?
I've never heard his name be said, but I was like, I got to figure out this guy's name. So I hit pause, looked at the Apple's little insights, and his name is Henry. So
Okay.
he does have a name.
And he just seems to be the senator's like bag man. He explains that he's former military intelligence and he just works for her and he protects her and does her, not dirty work necessarily, but stuff off books, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way he explained it, he's like, I had some character defects that I didn't feel I needed to address, so then found the senator here. So, yeah, he's just kind of the jack of all trades bagman, like you said.
Yeah, he knows how to automate a van and drive it remotely. He knows how to drive a remote controlled car. Good on Henry. All right, Anne and Charlotte, and Anne is the senator's daughter and also her
Anna.
aide. I'm sorry, Anna of Green Gables. Sure. And Charlotte's like, hey, what are we going to see? And Anna makes some quip about, oh, you'd be terrible at a magician show. And then a foot rub is offered? What's happening here? Are these two in a romantic relationship? What have you, Tom, when's the last time you asked someone you didn't know well for a foot rub?
Not recently, unless I'm paying them at a massage place.
Whoa, all right, calm down. We're on pod.
for
This
children.
is being recorded. Come on.
But yeah, it just seemed odd, this thing. Like, if their relationship kind of started post her, like, memory loss drugs, I feel like this is not a fantastic time for her, Charlotte, to be in a state of any sort of relationship. It seems very manipulative, but maybe Anna and Charlotte were a thing prior, and maybe that's why Charlotte was maybe read into some of these things because of, obviously, Anna's relationship with her mother as the senator. I don't know. This definitely took me a bit by shock.
Sure. Yeah, because as we learn in that Tarantino movie, foot rubs are an intimate act.
Intimate. Yes,
Yeah.
very intimate.
Yes, exactly. And so,
Or intimate. I don't know. Either one of those.
sure, whatever I said makes sense. The cup's almost empty, Tom. Don't make fun of me. We're almost done. Let's move on. Daniel and Charlotte. Oh, it's Charlotte's doctor is talking to Daniel. And he's like, listen, she's making progress. And memory's an exact science, but it's not an exact science. She'll choose to remember things. Sometimes she can't choose. Oh, by the way, did I mention my daughter died? And I made myself forget, but I'm remembering it by telling you. And I was just like, man, in my mind, I'm like, this is the longest plane ride I've ever been on. I got to sit next to this guy. I don't know. I didn't have much empathy. I didn't understand why we had to have this storyline, but it is what it is. So
Yeah,
he's talking about his own trauma and how it worked on him,
Right. Now, because I think we got this mentioned when he first talked to Daniel, like at like the clinic of like his kind of haunted past, but then didn't actually go through with it. So this is him just like telling us as an audience his whole backstory. I mean, he did mention the Grand Canyon, I think, at one point, which, native Arizonans, it was nice to see the Grand Canyon get mentioned, but it didn't seem to have much of a greater purpose.
Yeah, the Grand Canyon that they never made it to. So that kid could be like, oh, it's just a hole in the ground. Let's go home. Tom, if someone took you up in an airplane, flew you around the country,
No,
and then
I could not
flew
name the city.
hey, let me finish my question. And flew you over our hometown of Phoenix, could you be like, oh yeah, that's Phoenix at night?
That is quite possibly the only city I could is like the home city. So it is odd that he knows. Is he the representative of Atlanta? Where does? I guess we don't remember.
Yeah. He's from the great state of Georgia. Here's what I would have loved if he would have been like, oh, he's like leans over and he goes, we're over Islamabad, and someone on the plane goes, no man, it's just Atlanta. We've only been on this flight for 6 hours. I don't know. It's not a supersonic jet. What's going on with you? And he's like, oh, and then he just sits down. I don't know. Him looking outside and being like, it's Atlanta. I was like, okay, cool. It was kind of like that time in, Tom, I don't know. Did you ever see the movie Almost Heroes?
Oh, goodness. This
so
again?
In Almost Heroes, Matthew Perry and Chris Farley play like explorers. And
yeah, what
Chris
happens
Farley
next?
at one time, he bends down and he picks up a buffalo patty. And he like
Buffalo patty, huh?
He
What's
like
a buffalo
tastes
patty?
it. It's poop from a buffalo. He tastes it and he's like, oh, the herd is close. And Matthew Perry's like, really? And he's like, how can you tell? And he's like, and Chris Farley's like, oh, I see it over there. And then Matthew Perry's, you can just see on his face in Matthew Perry way, he's like, oh, why did you eat the buffalo patty? That's kind of what this all reminded me of. I don't know if
Pretty
that's
much.
what you thought.
Pretty much the exact same. Thank you for telling that story on the podcast for conservatively the 89th time.
Whatever, man. All right. So speaking of buffalo patties, Pear, we'll just call him Pear. Pear Perelson apparently bought a bunch of farms, which pretty sure farmers sell land all the time. Daniel was like blown away by this, but yeah, he collected up a bunch of farms for probably data centers, right?
Good old data centers. But yeah, he was kind enough. He gave them generational wealth, so he's a good billionaire.
Once again, the way he talks about money, I don't think generational wealth is really going to matter. And I guess based on what we know about the silos, I don't know that generational wealth is going to matter. There's not going to be many generations left. But as you pointed out earlier, we have a very weird conversation where we have some genetic modifications at work where this guy used a narwhal and a rhino or a horse or something, and he made a unicorn. And then a billionaire's like, hey, after you make it, can I hunt it? And I was like, this is the show just pandering to the people that right now are like, billionaires suck. This guy's like, oh, billionaires ruin everything. I was like, all right, calm down. Billionaires are pretty cool. If there's any billionaires out there that would like to make me, I don't know, a thousandaire, I would love to have some of that money. Send it my way. I think billionaires are cool. I just want to say that on record. That's all.
And I approve of that message. I always thought...
He said without conviction.
I always thought that man was the most dangerous game, but now that I know there's unicorns in the mix, I feel like that's the most dangerous game. Have you seen Death of a Unicorn?
I have not.
You don't mess with them, bro.
I have not. It's Paul Rudd, right? Paul Rudd's in Death of the Unicorn?
Paul Rudd and Wednesday Addams. I'm blanking on her name right now. Sorry, internet. But yeah, it was a fun little movie. But
Ortega.
That's right. Yeah, Ortega. There you go. But that's right where my mind went, is these murderous unicorns from that movie.
Can you imagine just having a mounted unicorn on your wall next to your Coos deer in your office? That's got
your other owls. Yeah.
Owls, Coos deer, maybe an elk ivory, and then I'm assuming the unicorn horn is ivory, right? So that's something. If you ground it up, Tom, it's a very powerful aphrodisiac. I don't know if you know that. Speaking of powerful aphrodisiacs, this is where we get to see the drill, you know?
Drill, baby, drill. There it is in all its glory.
There should have been oil just being pumped out of the ground. And they're like, I don't know if you know about oil, but it's going to save the universe. And he's like, I'm pretty sure we've already drilled for oil before. And they're like, oh, really? All right. So this was... I wanted more out of this. It felt like we traveled on this airplane a long time just to be like, hey, silos are in the ground and this is a drill. I guess they confirmed that they're in Georgia, or like that they're in the U.S., or at least these holes are. I don't know. I'm cool with it. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed... Have we touched on it all, Tom? Do we need to touch anything else? Do we need to touch any more on the drill?
I think you've touched it thoroughly. I mean, I'm kind of with you. Like, leaving that last episode of like the promise of, hey, you guys are going to save the world, just for kind of some legal jargony thing and telling us that the memory drugs aren't perfect, which we already kind of got in the silo storyline. I wanted this to move a little bit faster, but I'm okay with it. I still think there's putting a lot of chess pieces on the board for these final 3 episodes, and I'm very, very excited for how they're going to kind of wrap all this up. And then, again, start tying the concept of what is happening in the before times with the silo. Obviously, we're literally seeing the silos be crafted and built here, but seeing some of the other dynamics of why the world is what it is today, I think is fascinating, and I can't wait to see how these storylines ultimately kind of connect.
Are they getting close to the book on any of this stuff, or are we still kind of far away from it, but we could get to parts of the book? And I know that's an unfair question, but...
It's tricky because, the books do, like, I think we talked about this in the last season, where, like, the first season of this show was half of Wool, the first book. And then I think the majority of the second season was the second half of Wool. So there's a pretty dramatic shift in the next book, pun intended, that it takes, which I think is very, very interesting. And I think the show is treating it a little bit different for obvious reasons for those who have read the books. But knowing that the series is already promised to be 4 seasons and done, I don't know exactly where they would be equivalent in the book right now, but I think there's still a lot of great, fantastic material for them to kind of chew on at the end of this season and the final season next one.
Sure. No, I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm looking forward to watching them roll the silos out and slide them and drop them into the holes that they're digging. I'm excited to see that. And yeah, for those of you that are with us, we appreciate you listening at this point. We would just like to ask, if you are on Spotify, listening on the Spotify app, if you could follow us as well as give us a 5-star rating on there. We very much appreciate it. Once again, you just hit the Team Binge on the Spotify app. Next to the gear, 3 dots, drops down, rate podcast 5 stars. We would appreciate it. And then also, if you would take the time, hop on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, write a review. For those 5-star reviews, we will read them on pod because we appreciate you so much. And we do appreciate the emails that we get right now. We're fielding emails from Silo as well as Lasso, so it has been confusing because sometimes you're like, why is Lasso taking a memory drug? You know, why is soccer so important in the Silo? But we're enjoying both shows right now. Tom, what did I forget?
Yeah, and don't miss us on the socials at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast. We're on all the major ones. Let us know what you think. We do get a couple little kind of corrections and omissions, which I mean, normally when you ask the internet for corrections, you got to be a little bit kind of careful with what you get. But I think there were some interesting ones that get called out because we had talked about the idea of Shirley's pregnancy being kind of like abrupt, but there was a scene in episode 3 of this season where you actually do see like a scar on Shirley's abdomen. So likely where she actually yanked this thing out to allow her to become pregnant. So I think that was a nice little Easter egg. And then also the idea of Paul's syndrome kind of going away. We had kind of thought that was kind of like a weird plot device that they kind of yada-yada'd over. But I do think there were breadcrumbs and conversations that happened in the previous season where once he started kind of questioning the pact or spending more time below, and I think like taking some herb or something like that, we saw his symptoms kind of subside. So some of that information I think is very interesting to kind of go through because, again, we are recording these podcasts kind of right after a fresh watch. So sometimes we miss that stuff. So if we're missing on some of those, definitely please reach out, let us know, and just tag me on the email.
Tom, we've never been
Julian.
wrong, and we will not take corrections or omissions, but we will take suggestions and lovely words of affirmation. You know, that's our love language, ultimately.
It is.
All
we
right.
appreciate you, Internet. Thanks for taking this journey with us. And we are human. We're not perfect.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm perfect, and Internet, you're fine. So those are my words to you. For Team Binge, I have been Julian.
And I have been Tom. Till next week, everybody.